are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC.
Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Monday, February 12th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today, but before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So let's get into what we are going to talk about for today. So we are going to recap the Super Bowl last night. Chiefs winning 25-22 in overtime over the 49ers, so we'll get into that. Then we will talk about Patrick Mahomes winning his third Super Bowl MVP. We'll get into what's next for the 49ers after their loss to the Chiefs last night. And then we will get into the 2025 Super Bowl odds for each team, and that'll be the final part of the show. So let's get into the first topic, which is talking about the Super Bowl from last night. So I hope everybody had a good weekend. I hope everybody enjoyed the game, however you spent it. And it got off to a slow start. I know my cousins and I were saying this has Rams-Patriots vibes from 2018, 2019. And then one of my friends in our sports chat sent the score of that game, so I was like, oh, I hope we're not heading towards that. But the way it finished off, that was a great Super Bowl. That was a great Super Bowl to look back on. And let's go through the game summary. So the 49ers got the ball to start off the game, and they were driving. They were putting together a great drive, and a lot of McCaffrey, Kyle Juszczyk, even on the first drive as well, was making plays. 18 plays to Kyle Juszczyk, 11 to McCaffrey, an 11-yard run by McCaffrey. They got down into Chiefs territory, and then McCaffrey did something that he doesn't do often, and that's fumble the football. He put the ball on the ground, Chiefs recovered, and no points were scored on that drive. Then the Chiefs got the ball, their first drive of the game, and it was a quick 3-and-out. A 2-minute drive. Pacheco, first play for the Chiefs, -3 yards. 1 yard completion to Travis Kelce. And then on 3rd and 12, Mahomes dumped it off to Jerick McKinnon, who was active for this game. He picked up 8 yards, and the Chiefs had to punt. And Kelce actually only had 1 reception for 1 yard in the first half, which was wild. So then on the next drive, the 49ers, they punted. They started off good. Brock Purdy completed an 18-yard pass to Brandon Ayuk. Then Deebo Samuel ran the football, -2 yards. Back-to-back penalties. And then, that, again, didn't amount to anything. And the 49ers punted. Then the Chiefs punted. And then the 49ers scored the first points of the Super Bowl, getting into field goal range. Well, with Jake Moody, you weren't sure about that. Credit to him, actually, because he had a good game outside of the blocked extra point. But he made a 55-yard field goal to put the Niners up 3-0. And those are the first points scored in the Super Bowl. Then the Chiefs got the ball. They were driving. It looked like they were going to score points. Mahomes hit McCole Hardman for a 52-yard pass play, which I thought was going to get intercepted because there were 2 49ers players there. But Hardman was able to catch it. And then right after that, Isaiah Pacheco fumbled. And what was interesting was on the sidelines, Travis Kelce was, well, first of all, he was not out for that play. He was on the side for that, and he literally, caught Andy Reid off guard, almost knocked him over, was yelling, was screaming in his face, and I know a lot of people were complaining about that. Andy Reid said afterwards that Kelsey's keeping him young, and Kelsey said, I just told him I loved him when they were interviewing him after the game. But yeah, I mean, that was, we'll see, if we get the audio for that. But yeah, that was not that did not look like a friendly conversation on the sidelines there. Then, so after that, 49ers punted, Chiefs punted. Then the 49ers went 8 plays, 67 yards, 3.5 minutes of time of possession. Did a little trick play. Juwan Jennings threw it back to Christian McCaffrey, and he took it 21 yards for a touchdown, and then Jake Moody kicked the extra point, and that made it 10-0. And then the Chiefs, they got 3 points before the end of the half, and yeah, so it was 10-3 at the half, low scoring. Then, the Usher halftime show happened, and then we got back to the game. And the Chiefs, they started off with an interception. Mahomes, first there was a bobbled snap, and then, yeah, but the Chiefs were able to recover that. Then there was a 10-yard pass play to Noah Gray, and then Mahomes overthrew. I think he was trying to hit Kelsey on that play, but it got intercepted. But the Niners didn't turn that into points. So the Niners punted, Chiefs punted, Niners punted again. Chiefs kicked another field goal to make it 10-6. That was a Harrison Butker 57-yard field goal. Both teams punted again, but of course, when the Chiefs punted, the 49ers they muffed the punt. And the Chiefs recovered that, and literally the first play of that drive, Mahomes connects with Marquez Valdez-Scantling for a 16-yard touchdown, and that makes it 13-10. But then the Niners, this was big. They answered with a touchdown drive of their own 12 plays, 75 yards, 6 minutes of time possession down the field. Purdy making some good plays, and he connected with Juwan Jennings for a 10-yard touchdown. And the Niners were up 16-13 because then Jake Moody's extra point got blocked, which was big. Because now all the Chiefs had to do was answer with a field goal. But at this point, people were saying, is Juwan Jennings going to win Super Bowl MVP? So then the Chiefs, they went down the field, answered with the field goal of their own. Mahomes was getting time on this drive, connected with Justin Watson for 25 yards. And then Butker kicked a 24-yard field goal. So that made it 16-16. 49ers answered. They went down the field. Brock Purdy connected with Juwan Jennings for a 23-yard pass play. They got into field goal range, and Jake Moody kicked a 53-yard field goal. So the Chiefs, all they had to do was get a field goal, and Mahomes, they got into field goal range, and Butker kicked a 29-yard field goal. And this game went to overtime, which this game now has become the second Super Bowl to go into overtime. The first one was obviously the Falcons-Patriots game from 2016. So the Niners, they got the ball, and this was actually the first game with the new overtime rules. So each team would possess the ball. Even if you score a touchdown, the Niners didn't score a touchdown, but if they did, the Chiefs would have got the ball, and they would have had a chance to answer. The only way the game would have ended is if the Chiefs would have got like a pick six or something. So yeah, but the Niners, they got the ball, they went down the field. They can only get 3. So at that point, you kind of knew that wasn't good, because you could tell both defenses were getting tired as the game went on. And yeah, so the Chiefs, they went down the field. We almost went into double overtime, because when they scored the game-winning touchdown, that was basically when time was expiring in overtime. But yeah, the Chiefs went 13 plays, 75 yards, almost 7.5 minutes of time possession. And Patrick Mahomes connected with McCole Hardman for a 3-yard touchdown, and that was the game. The Chiefs won 25-22. My takeaways from the game, so I thought the 49ers defense came out and played really well. They were not giving up big chunk plays early. They were getting pressure on Mahomes early, because if you go back to the AFC Championship game, the Ravens really weren't getting to Mahomes, but the Niners were. That pass rush was getting to him early. And I thought that, both quarterbacks played well. I thought in the beginning they were trying to get the I guess a little bit of the rust off from being off for 2 weeks, but you knew it was a matter of time before the Chiefs got it going, and they did in the second half. I thought Brock Purdy played well. You can't pin the loss on him, but at the same time, when you're going for three, in overtime, you can't do that against the Chiefs. But they had to. So it was, that was just unfortunate for them. But because if you remember, when they got the touchdown drive to Juwan Jennings, there was a fourth down play they converted with George Kittle. And it was weird because Jim Nantz was like, "Oh, I don't think he got it," and it was like, "I think he did get it." So it was just very, very strange that Jim Nantz thought he was short. And again, my camera is acting up, so I'm just gonna fix that really quickly while we keep talking about the Super Bowl here. Yeah, I don't know what is going on with my camera, but because I fixed it before we were going to air, but of course, it just decides to act up on me again, like it likes to for some reason. But yeah, so George Kittle gets that first down. Juwan Jennings gets a touchdown. But yeah, like I said, at one point you thought that Juwan Jennings maybe would get Super Bowl MVP. But, that ended up not being the case. It was Mahomes, which we will talk about in the next segment. But, the 49ers had a couple of injuries a few injuries in this game. First of all, Dre Greenlaw, running out onto the field, and he ends up falling down and getting carted off the field. And now it's confirmed that he tore his Achilles, which was that was a huge blow for the Niners defense. Again, and that was something that I just was hoping for, that we did not have to deal with injuries. But, of course, that happens, because they came back from commercial break, and, they're showing what happened when the Niners defense was running out onto the field. And Dre Greenlaw just, runs out onto the field awkwardly and lands on the ground. And, yeah, he has to get carted off. And, yeah, it's confirmed that he tore his Achilles, which was just awful, awful news for the Niners. And you saw Fred Warner's reaction. He had his hands on his head. I just couldn't believe it. So it's just devastating news for the Niners. Hopefully he has a speedy recovery, but that's just not what you want in that game. And then also, and these guys came back into the game, Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. Deebo Samuel is dealing with a hamstring injury, and George Kittle, because I saw at one point he was going to the locker room, and so he left the game with the shoulder injury, but then he came back in. Yeah, because George Kittle really did not do much in this game. But, yeah, it just it was another tough loss for the 49ers in this game. And also, I mean, the other thing, too, is, in overtime, when they had to kick the field goal, Brock Purdy had pressure in his face, but if he had just a little bit more time, Brandon Ayuk was wide open in the end zone for a touchdown. But Purdy didn't see him because he's got, the Chiefs are bringing a full-out blitz, and he had to get rid of it. And, they had to settle for 3. And then Mahomes went right down the field. But, it just, the Super Bowl got off to a slow start, but we had a very exciting finish. But I just feel for the 49ers and their players and their fans, because they just keep getting to this point and they keep falling short. And it's like, when are they ever going to have their chance? But on the other side, it's the same story. It's that head coach, it's that team, it's that quarterback. They just continue to get it done, and they're officially a dynasty. What we're seeing is incredible with this team, and they even said it after the game. They're looking for more. They're still hungry. They still want to keep winning, and now they're already talking about a three-peat. So, but we got a long way to go before that. But still, I mean, it was a great game, a great finish. Both defenses played well, and that's really what it came down to, is both defenses just got tired at the end. But everybody's talking about Kyle Shanahan blowing yet another double-digit lead, Mahomes coming back from another double-digit lead. It's the same storylines. This 49ers team is still great. It's just, and you know what? I'm happy that Brock Purdy didn't lose this game for them. He did what he was supposed to do, and you saw a lot of McCaffrey. That was what the game plan was: is run it with Christian McCaffrey. He got 20 carries in this game. I mean, you could tell he was, gassed at the end too. So we'll run through the stats. So for the 49ers, Brock Purdy went 23 of 38, 255 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. Got sacked once. Juwan Jennings had a pass play. That was the McCaffrey touchdown for 21 yards. So McCaffrey had 22 carries for 80 yards. He was also the leading receiver at 8 carries for 80 yards and a touchdown. Brandon Ayuk had 3 for 49. Juwan Jennings had 4 for 42 and a touchdown. Deebo Samuel 3 for 33. Kyle Juszczyk had 2 for 31. Ray McLeod had 1 for 19. Chris Conley had 1 for 18. George Kittle, 2 receptions for 4 yards. I was surprised. I thought he would have had a bigger game. I know a lot of people thought he was going to have a big game, but it just didn't happen. Niners had 3 sacks in the game. Jake Moody went 3 for 3 with field goals, 1 for 2 with the extra point. Obviously, the one that was blocked was big in the game. But also, the other thing, too, the turning point in the game, really, because, again, the 49ers defense was doing a great job. And what happens? Chiefs punt. They muff the punt, put the Chiefs right in 49ers territory, and on the first play, Mahomes connects with Valdez-Scantling. I mean, you can't do that. And I mean, they were lucky that, the McCaffrey fumble didn't lead to any points. But, the 49ers, that's going to beat you. That's going to cost you. And, that play and the Jake Moody blocked field goal, or blocked extra point, that ended up costing them. And, you can't have that happen against the Chiefs because they're going to capitalize on it. And that's exactly what happened. Especially on the muffed punt. And, I mean, it's hard to get back to this point. But the Chiefs, they've now made it to, back-to-back Super Bowls, and they've won back-to-back Super Bowls now, which is something that I know Kelsey and them were talking about, getting back to this point because they had a chance to do that a couple of years ago, and, they obviously lost to the Bucs, but now they got the job done, and now, again, they're looking to repeat as champions again for next year. And this is a Chiefs squad that struggled throughout the regular season, but they got back to this point. And, they win again, and listen, they're going to be the team to beat again next year. And they should be better next year because they got to surround Mahomes with more talent in terms of the wide receivers. You still got that defense. Kelsey is still gonna be back, and you hope that he's going to be healthier for next year. I mean, he was great in these playoffs. If they could figure out this wide receiver core, because obviously they got Rashee Rice, who was solid for them this year in his first season. But you just got to surround it with more talent, and they're going to be even better next year. So, I mean, right now we're witnessing greatness with this team, whether you like it or not. I mean, the cuts to Taylor Swift were constant. Which you figured was going to happen. I just felt like they dialed it up last night because it was literally everything. I mean, Mahomes had a couple of big runs in the game. Actually, speaking of that, I didn't even go through the Chiefs stats. That's my fault. But yeah, they cut to Taylor Swift a lot. Let's go through the Chiefs stats. So Mahomes went 34 of 46, 333 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. The Chiefs ran the ball for 130 yards in total. Mahomes 66 yards. He was their leading rusher. Pacheco had 59. Kelsey 9 for 93. Again, had a quiet first half, but he got it going in the second half. I thought he was going to score the game-winning touchdown, at the end of regulation, because it looked like there was nobody there when he was cutting across. But no, they stopped him, and they were able to get off at least one play before they had to kick the game-tying field goal to go into overtime. But so he got it going. McCole Hardman 3 for 57 and a touchdown, the game-winning touchdown. Justin Watson 3 for 54. Rashee Rice 6 for 39. Pacheco 6 for 33. Noah Gray 2 for 22. Valdez-Scantling 3 for 20. Jared McKinnon 2 for 15. And he had a big catch too in the game as well. That was to set up the game-tying field goal. because the 49ers were bringing it, and Mahomes was able to dump it off to him for a first down. But, yeah, I mean, listen, it was a great game. Got off to a slow start, but, again, great finish. And, yeah, the Chiefs are Super Bowl champions. So we're going to take our first break of the show, and then when we come back, we will continue to discuss this game by talking about Patrick Mahomes winning his third Super Bowl MVP. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some loose shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh,
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, and my camera is acting up again. We are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast, and for the third part of the show, again, I apologize that this keeps happening. Second part of the show, sorry, don't even know what I'm saying right now. We are going to talk about Patrick Mahomes winning now his third Super Bowl MVP, and he joins great company. He joins Joe Montana and Tom Brady as the only quarterbacks to win three or more Super Bowl MVPs. I almost said multiple because then I just thought, wait, Eli won two. So what am I? Yeah, so it was 3 or more Super Bowl MVPs. Yeah, it's great company to be in, and again, got off to a slow start. The 49ers defense, I thought they played a great game. Both defenses played great games. And again, it was, it got off to a slow start. Kelsey, 1 catch for 1 yard in the first half. And, it was like, what receiver is going to step up for this team? And, Rashee Rice, again, made some plays. Justin Watson made some plays. Valdez-Scantling, McCole Hardman. The receivers did show up when they had to. And, it's just the Niners were getting pressure. And, it was... Again, it was only a matter of time before the Chiefs got it going. You just can't count them out in these games. And, we've seen them be down by a lot in playoff games, and they come back. I mean, you go back to the Texans game in the divisional round back in 2019. Still can't believe that happened. They were down by 10 against the Titans in the championship game that year. They were down to the 49ers by 10 in the Super Bowl that year. You just can't count the Chiefs out. And here and this game, it was the same thing. The 49ers, they had to keep the pressure on the Chiefs. And listen, they were doing a good job. It's just costly mistake. Muffing the punt, and the Chiefs capitalized on it. And Mahomes actually, in the Super Bowls that he's played in, I don't believe he's ever passed for 300 yards. In this one, he finally did. And he did throw a pick, but that didn't amount to anything. The 49ers did not capitalize on that interception, which, again, was big. But, again, that's credit to both defenses. But, as the game went on, Mahomes got into a rhythm, was getting better protection. Because you also got to remember, he was without, Joe Thuney. One of his guards, and Definitely missed him at some points during the game because, like I said, the 49ers were getting pressure on him. But yeah, I mean, he got it going, and once Mahomes gets going, it's really tough to stop him. And again, what we're seeing right now with the Chiefs is unbelievable. And I know a lot of people are not happy with the results from last night. I was getting some texts about the game last night talking in a negative manner. But listen, I mean the Chiefs, they are a great team, and they dealt with some adversity this year. I mean, listen, I didn't think they were getting back to the Super Bowl. I really didn't. I mean, just the way that they were playing in the regular season on offense, if that carried into the postseason, which it didn't, they weren't going to win anything. And they flipped that switch, and they just looked like a different team. Now, you could also talk about the fact that Kadarius Toney was a healthy scratch. He didn't play in the game. And, again, it was better off. It was better off because he could have very easily, Mahomes could have threw him a pass and he could have dropped it, or he could have bobbled it. It went up in the air and could have got intercepted. So, listen, I don't blame the Chiefs for not activating him for this game. And Kadarius Toney, odds are he's probably going to have to look for, another chance because I don't think you're – well, then again, it's like you couldn't make it with the Chiefs. I mean, somebody's – I would think would pick him up. But, listen, if it doesn't work out with the Chiefs, then who's it going to work out with? Because the Chiefs right now are the standard, and they just, they lose pieces and they just continue. They're a machine. Like this year, offensively, they weren't spectacular, but they still were able to find a way to get back to the Super Bowl and win it against a very good 49ers team. Which we will talk about more in the third part of the show. But I mean, this quarterback right now, where he ranks among the all-time greats, I mean, he's got to be top 3. He's got to be in your top 3. I mean, he's already, I think he's already surpassed Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, and Aaron Rodgers. At least in my lifetime, which is unbelievable. Which I can't believe I'm saying that, but I mean, what he's been able to do in a short amount of time. And he already has 3 Super Bowls. Rodgers only has 1. Brees finished with 1. Peyton Manning got 2, but you look at his last season, I mean, the Broncos' defense carried him to that Super Bowl. I mean, they have the longevity, of course. So obviously, like, if you still have them ranked over Mahomes, like, that's no issue with me. But for me personally, the fact that Mahomes has 3 Super Bowls already, he's already passed all of them. I mean, I think he's definitely, as an Aaron Rodgers fan, he's definitely past Rodgers. It's unbelievable. And listen, he said that they're already, they're going to celebrate this, go to the parade, but then it's back to work. They're looking to win another one. And, what they're doing is similar to the Patriots. And I just watched a TikTok of a Patriots fan talking about it. I mean, you go back to, the start of Brady's career, and, the Patriots won 3 Super Bowls. They won back-to-back. They were the first team, the Chiefs were the first team since the Patriots to repeat as champions, because the Patriots did it from, I think, 03 to 04, right? And now the Chiefs have done it. So now they're looking to three-peat. And we'll, again, got a long way to go before that happens. But, Mahomes definitely is going to win more Super Bowls. I mean, this isn't it. And again, we talked about this last week. You're not going to have Travis Kelce forever. You're not going to have Andy Reid forever. Eventually, those guys are going to leave. Right now, that's not the case. So you want to win as many championships as you can right now with those guys on your team. Because, again, you don't know what's going to happen. New head coach. And listen, Travis Kelce's been that security blanket, for his whole career. So eventually those guys are going to leave. And then, it's going to be a little different. But, Mahomes is just so talented. I mean, whoever the Chiefs end up replacing Andy Reid with or Kelsey, they're going to make sure Mahomes is okay, and I mean, and he's got to have some input on it, right? Whenever that happens, because I mean, I think he's earned that right. Now, I'm not saying full on control, like in some other situations in the NFL, but it definitely will be a part of those conversations. I would imagine, but again, that's down the road. Right now, they still got the head coach. Kelsey's not going anywhere either. You got Mahomes, and listen, surround him with more wide receivers that can actually catch the ball, which they did last night in big moments. But you definitely want to add a number one wide receiver somehow if you can. But I know it's going to be tough because obviously you got to work things out with some guys. But listen, I mean, you still got the defense is young. That secondary was great this year. I mean, the defense as a whole was great. Young players on the defensive side of the ball with Chris Jones, of course. Offensively, the offensive line is solid. You got Isaiah Pacheco running the football. Travis Kelce, Rasheed Rice having a good rookie season. I mean, you just got to continue to, you got to add. Another wide receiver would be nice because, again, at points during the season, it just wasn't looking good. But they got it going. I mean, look at it. Mahomes won the Super Bowl with rookie Rasheed Rice, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Justin Watson, McCole Hardman. I mean, again, that's Patriot vibes too because, I mean, when you go back to some of the teams that Brady won with in the 2010s, I mean, you had Edelman, Amendola, Brandon LaFell, Malcolm Mitchell. Of course, you had Gronk. Yeah, well, you didn't have him in the 2016 Super Bowl, but you had Martellus Bennett. Who else am I missing? Chris Hogan. I mean, you didn't have... I mean, the Super Bowl that they got to with Brandon Cooks, they didn't win that one. They lost to the Eagles. I mean, and again, those guys, I mean, they were good players. And Edelman, it's up for debate whether he should be a Hall of Famer or not. But those guys showed up in the postseason when they had to. But if you looked at them, where would you rank them among the best wide receivers in the NFL? Like Danny Amendola, Chris Hogan, Malcolm Mitchell. Well, I mean, Malcolm Mitchell didn't make a lot of plays in the 2016 Super Bowl. I mean, I'd have to go back and look. But, I mean, you wouldn't... Brandon LaFell caught a touchdown in the Seahawks Super Bowl. But, like, where would you rank those guys? You wouldn't rank them in your top 10, top 15. I mean, Edelman is the best one out of them. But, I mean, those guys aren't ranked high on, the wide receivers lists. It's the same thing with these receivers. You got Kelsey. Gronk at the time was the best tight end. Kelsey right now is the best tight end. You'd rank them at the top. But outside of that, the receivers, you're not ranking them anywhere near the top 10. So, I mean, the fact that he was able to win it with, that supporting cast is, again, it's a credit to his greatness. And again, it's same thing with Tom Brady. I mean, Tom Brady didn't win with Randy Moss either. He lost in the, you lost to the Giants in the 07 Super Bowl. I mean, then you had Welker, and Welker was a part of the 07 team and the 2011 team. Didn't win that. So, I mean, again, it's a credit to their greatness how they're able to, win with, that supporting cast. Yeah, I mean, listen, Mahomes is an elite company, and I think we talked about this last week. I think it's just a silly argument that people are just like, oh, well, even though he won last night, he's still 0-2 against Brady, so there's no chance that he could pass Brady. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And again, no context. It's just, oh, he's 0-2 against Brady. He can't pass Brady. Okay, well, what happened in those games? Again, the first meeting between Brady and Mahomes. Now we're getting to the GOAT discussion again. But again, the first meeting between Brady and Mahomes. Again, Brady won. But the final score of that game was 43-40. So what, did Mahomes play like garbage? No. Played great. He's played great in pretty much every matchup that him and Brady played against each other, except the Super Bowl against the Bucs. But you could say that was a team loss. because I mean Mahomes is throwing the ball while he's sideways in the air to a receiver that it could have been caught, but he dropped it. You know, I mean, that was again, the Bucs were the better team, but I just think it's silly. But again, I mean, Mahomes could retire right now, and he'd be an all-time great. I mean, he's an all-time great already. He could retire right now, first ballot Hall of Famer, in such a short period of time. And you know, it's just they're the team to beat. You see what they were able to do to some of these teams in the playoffs. The Bills that keep falling short every year. The Ravens, you know, the Dolphins. We thought, you know, people were saying, you know, comparing them to the greatest show on turf. The Chiefs just went right through them, all of them. And then they played against the 49ers, who were looked at as the best team in the NFC. And the Chiefs beat them. You can't bet against the Chiefs. And, you know, at one point it looked like maybe the Niners are going to pull this one out. But, I mean, again, once that muff punt happens late in the game, I mean, the momentum shifted. Now, again, the 49ers could have crumbled, but no, they answered. But it's tough. And especially when they kick the field goal in overtime and Mahomes is getting the ball back, you kind of knew, like, yeah, this game might be over. Especially, again, because defenses were tired. But, yeah, it just, again, great game. And, again, what this quarterback's been doing in a short period of time, it really is, it's a pleasure to watch. I know, again, a lot of people are angry because they're just tired of seeing the Chiefs. Well, you're going to keep seeing the Chiefs because they're not going anywhere yet. They're not going anywhere yet. As long as they still got the coach, the quarterback, you know, they still got the nucleus of the team with Kelsey, Chris Jones. And again, you got that young defense, you know, and, you know, Isaiah Pacheco and Rashee Rice, and you're going to add to that. The team's not going anywhere. And who's going to stop him? Now, there's one team that has stopped Mahomes, and one quarterback that is still playing, and that is Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow was hurt. You know, Josh Allen keeps falling short. Lamar Jackson. You know, again, Joe Burrow was the only person to do it, and that was in Arrowhead. So, yeah, I mean, again, Chiefs are the team to beat right now. So, and I don't, you know, they repeat as champions. And, again, they're already looking to repeat. So, before we go into our second break of the show, I just want to remind you guys once again, tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So, when we come back from our second break of the show, we will discuss what is next for the 49ers as they fall short yet again in the Super Bowl. So I'll talk about that when we return from our second break. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast, and for the third part of the show, we are now going to talk about what is next for the 49ers after their loss to the Chiefs. Again, I feel for the players and their fans because, I mean, again, you fall short again. They lose kind of in a similar fashion where they lose a 10-point lead. Chiefs come back. Only this time this game goes to overtime, and they had the lead, and then the Chiefs went down the field and scored. But yeah, I mean, similar just in terms of them losing that 10-point lead. Because again, they were playing great. I mean, Mahomes wasn't really doing anything. They couldn't really run the football. Because again, we talked about how the 49ers defense, their run defense wasn't good in the playoff games against the Lions and the Packers. And listen, they shut down that Chiefs running game. But, Pacheco was able to, finish with, I think, 59 yards? But Mahomes had a couple of big runs. But, I thought for the most part the Niners did a good job containing that. They did give up a couple of big plays, the McCole Hardman play, but fortunately for them, they were able to force an Isaiah Pacheco fumble and get the ball back. But, it just, again, they just come up small, and it just, and Kyle Shanahan's going to hear about it because, he just seems to be on the losing end of these games a lot. He's 0-3 in Super Bowls, as a coordinator and as a head coach. In those games, his teams were winning, but couldn't hold on to the lead. You lose to Tom Brady. You lose to Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you were on the losing end of the only Super Bowls that have gone to overtime. Both of them, you were on the losing end. One of them as a coordinator and one of them as a head coach. I mean, that is just brutal. That is just brutal. And listen, I still think Kyle Shanahan is a really good head coach. But, for you to be great, you got to be able to win these games. And he just can't finish. And, you look at the 49ers, you look at the Chiefs, they keep making it back here. But the 49ers, I mean, who knows? Things can happen. I mean, now look, Dre Greenlaw tears his Achilles. I mean, now what's the timetable on his return for next year? I mean, I'm assuming he's going to miss the start of next year. I don't know. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. That's a devastating blow to your defense. And these guys are getting older. I mean, obviously they're going to run it back with the same core, and they're going to be a very good team next year. But you figure the conference is going to be more competitive. The Lions, they almost beat you. They're going to want to get redemption for that. The Packers are going to be better. You got the Cowboys and the Eagles, which, I mean, I say that, but look at what the 49ers did to both of those teams this year. But I'm just saying, because, you got the 1 seed, you had home field advantage. Next year could be different. You could be going on the road, like you had to go to Philly. I know Brock Purdy got hurt, but still, it's just you want to be playing at home. And they could, and listen, they almost lost to the teams that they played at home this year in the playoffs. But yeah, you got those teams. I mean, you got the Vikings with Kirk Cousins. I think coming back. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that. And also Justin Jefferson and his contract situation, which is something that we'll discuss as we are now in the off season. Who else? I mean, you look at the NFC South it will be better, but I mean, the 49ers are better than all those teams. In your own division. I mean, the Cardinals, I think, will be better next year. Again, the 49ers, I mean, I think whatever kind of all season the Cardinals are going to have, I mean, the 49ers, I think, will still be better on paper. The Cardinals got some ways to go, but they'll be better. I mean, you look at the Rams and the Seahawks. I mean, those two teams. Because the Rams, listen, not a lot of people thought they were going to be that good this year. Rebuilding, young team. Didn't matter. Stafford and Sean McVay and Cooper Kupp to go along with Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams. And Aaron Donald on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, they made the playoffs, and they're going to be better. They fixed that defense. I mean, they're going to be right there next year. So you got to worry about them. Seahawks, we'll see. They got a good roster. They need a quarterback. So it's going to be tougher next year. And, I mean, who knows? I mean, are you going to get home field advantage? Are you going to be able to, host playoff? I mean, anything can happen. And unfortunately also, like what happened last night, injuries too. I mean, we saw what happened in 2020. They got ravaged with injuries. So, again, I'm hoping that doesn't happen because I hate injuries. And obviously when Greenlaw goes down, I mean, that was devastating. Because again, I don't like seeing people get hurt. As many people do. No one likes injuries. It's awful. But again, it's part of the game, unfortunately. And we as fans just got to deal with it. But it's part of the game. And again, what else is part of the game and part of the show is, once again, my camera just is acting up again. I don't know what's going on today. Yeah, so yeah, part of the game, part of the show is my camera acting up. And obviously we're going to fix it. Again, simple fix, but this can't happen. All right, now it just doesn't want to. I don't understand. I don't understand what's happening today, guys. I apologize, but I mean, this is ridiculous. But yeah, it's just unfortunate because again, I want the 49ers to win. All right, there we go. I want the 49ers to win. I want this group of players to win. I think they deserve it. And Brock Purdy put the blame on himself. I mean, listen, I think Brock Purdy is one of the last people you should be blaming. Now, could he have made more plays? Absolutely. There's some throws that he missed. But it also didn't help when, at certain points during the game, he had pressure right in his face. I mean, there was the third and fourth play. I think that was the field goal to put them up 19-16. Pressure in his face. Chiefs were bringing him a blitz. Then, I don't know why I said it like that, but yeah, he was getting blitzed, had to get rid of it. They had to kick a field goal, and then in overtime. Because I saw in the comments, it was like, oh, he had a wide open Brandon Ayuk. Because I mean, again, I missed that. I mean, I saw the play, but I didn't realize it until I watched the highlights. You go back and you watch it, yeah, Ayuk's wide open. But Purdy didn't see him because Purdy's got all that pressure coming at him. So then they had to kick the field goal in overtime. Yeah, it stinks when you get to this point, and they've gotten here a bunch of times now. Conference championships, the Super Bowl, against the Chiefs, and they fall short. But, I mean, I would not place the significant blame on Brock Purdy. I mean, I honestly, for me personally, like, I know people are blaming Shanahan too, and yeah, but I mean, you look at some of the things that happened. I mean, is it Shanahan's fault that they muffed the punt on special teams that set up the Mahomes touchdown? Like, how you can't blame that on Shanahan. Is it Shanahan's fault that Jake Moody's extra point got blocked? It's like those two plays right there, you could look at them and say they costed the 49ers the game. Because the defense was containing Mahomes and that offense. But they capitalized on their mistakes. And instead of the Chiefs having to go down and get 7, all they had to do was get 3 to tie the game. It just, Jake Moody hits that extra point. If that doesn't get blocked, changes the whole complexion of the game. Chiefs have to go down and get 7, which, I mean, the way they were playing in the second half, maybe they do get 7, and then we're having a different conversation. That game ends in regulation. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, they were running the ball with McCaffrey. I mean, McCaffrey was the game plan, and he had a big game. I don't know. For me, I can't really say, I can't really blame. I mean, I guess you blame, special teams, Ray McLeod for muffing the punt. I can't really put the blame on, the head coach. I mean, you lose a 10-point lead, but I don't know. It's just, I guess, like, with Kittle, and I know Debo was in and out because he was dealing with the hamstring injury, and Kittle was hurt, but I don't know. I guess get the ball to them more. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, because Jawan Jennings was making plays. I mean, you saw, earlier in the game, Brock Purdy. I mean, yeah, we talk about his Avengers, supporting cast. He was throwing to Chris Conley and Ray McLeod. Made a couple of good throws to them. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I really am going to blame Shanahan. Because, again, like, the muff punt and the missed extra point. I mean, you can't blame him for that. But, again, that's just my opinion. But if anybody else has any comments on that, feel free. But I don't know. I feel like they still were running in with McCaffrey. They didn't go away from that game plan. I don't know. It just, they never put the finishing blow on the Chiefs. Like, the Chiefs were still hanging around. And they capitalized on 49ers' mistakes. So, I don't know. But listen, this team is going to be good next year. They're going to have this core, but it's just, when is that time going to come for them where they get it done? I don't know. And I feel for the players because, again, like, they just fall short once again to this same team. So we're going to take our final break of the show, and then when we come back, we'll take a look at the Super Bowl odds for each team for next year, who's got the best odds, who's got the worst odds. But yeah, that's what we'll do when we come back from our final break of the show. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we're now going to take a look at the 2025 Super Bowl odds for each team. Now, I didn't know where I was going to look. I mean, I'm on DraftKings right now. Yeah, so we'll take a look at that because I was looking at, I know Sports Illustrated. There was a couple of other sites that I was looking at. Also, I'm looking at The Athletic I had. But yeah, so right now the 49ers actually right now have the best odds to win the Super Bowl next year, the very early odds. Because I know that's what a lot, I know ESPN, I think, or NFL Network, they'll show like, oh, here are the odds for the teams next year, and it's like, well, the Super Bowl just ended, but that's what we're doing right now. So the 49ers. Then you got the Chiefs. This is on DraftKings. So the 49ers are plus 550. Chiefs are plus 650. The Ravens are plus 900. The Bills are plus 1,000. The Detroit Lions are plus 1,200. The Bengals are plus 1,300. Dolphins are plus 1,700. The Eagles are plus 2,000. Packers and Cowboys, same thing. The Texans are plus 2,200. The Jets are plus 2,500, along with the Chargers. Jaguars are plus 3,000. Bears are plus 3,000. Wow. So the Bears are plus 3,000, and the Rams are plus 3,500. Browns are plus 3,500. I feel like the Rams and the Browns should be ahead of the Bears. But because especially with the Bears, we don't know what they're going to do with quarterback. Are they going to keep Justin Fields? Are they going to, it looks like they're going to keep the number one pick. They're looking for, I saw something that said they're looking for like a major package for the number one pick. But it seems like they're going to, I guess, keep the number 1 pick and trade Justin Fields. I mean, you would think that's what they're going to end up doing. But again, we got the whole offseason to talk about that. So that's interesting. And again, I mean, this is, again, very early. I mean, depending on how free agency and the draft goes, this is all going to change. But, yeah, the 49ers got the best odds to win the Super Bowl next year, right now at the moment. And then you got the Chiefs, of course. Again, I mean, these are just very early. You know, I mean, who knows? I mean, it's just, you know, you got injuries, and, again, we got the whole offseason, free agency, the draft. You know, I mean, let's go all the way to the bottom. So, the Carolina Panthers have a plus 25,000 to win the Super Bowl next year. Then you got the Titans at 15,000, and then you got several teams that have plus 10,000. The Broncos, the Raiders, the Giants, and the Patriots, the Commanders as well. The Saints are plus 8,000. The Cardinals are plus 8,000. The Steelers are plus 7,500. Bucks are plus 7,000. Seahawks are plus 6,500. Then you got the Vikings, 5,500. Colts at 4,500. Falcons 3,500. Same as the Browns and the Rams, like I was talking about a little bit before. Yeah. It's funny how like there's like just like a huge gap between like the Panthers and the other teams, but yeah, I mean, listen, I mean the ones that are closer to the top, you expect those teams to be in the mix next year, of course. I mean, you know, the 49ers and the Chiefs, especially, you know, after just playing in the game last night. The Ravens, of course, season they had, you know, Josh Allen, and the Bills. I mean, we'll see what happens there. I mean, especially because, I mean, who knows what happens with Stephon Diggs? I mean, is he going to stick around? Is he going to want to be out of there? Because, you know, that rumor's been circulating for, you know, a few years now. You know, it's listen, we got a long way to go. But again, I just thought it was something to just look at and, you know, see where at least some of the playoff teams are. I mean, I kind of just ran through basically all the teams. But, yeah, that's at least on DraftKings. I mean, it's different. It depends on where you look. But, you know, I mean, listen, the teams that we got this year in the Super Bowl doesn't mean we're going to get them next year. But also, credit to Peter Schrager, because, you know, on Good Morning Football, because on NFL Network, because he's predicted like the last like 6 Super Bowl matchups, which I don't know how you do that, but yeah, I mean, he's just had that luck, and you know, he got it right again, got the same matchup, Chiefs winning, and yeah, so we'll see what. So if he is, so it's like Groundhog Day, so he's gonna predict now next year's Super Bowl matchup when that gets closer. Because I think what happens is he does it, you know, on opening night. You know, he just says what his matchup's going to be, you know, before the first game of the year. So we'll find out, first game of the year, what the Super Bowl is going to be. So I think that's where the NFL script writers get their script, is from Peter Schrager. So there you go. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy that he was able to predict that. And I, you know, my score prediction, what did I say for the score prediction was? I said, what did I say? 28, 24, 27, 24, something like that. So I was close, 3-point game, 25, 22. Yeah, kind of a weird score though. And actually, someone who got very close to the correct score, I think, was Cynthia Freeland on NFL Network. Because I think she said, what'd she say? It was like 25, 23 the final score was. But yeah, she was close, 1 point off. So, I mean, I think I said it was. I thought it was going to be a 3-point game. I'd have to go back and check. But hey, I mean, listen. At the end of the day, got a good game. Got off to a slow start, but like I keep saying, great finish. And with that, football is over. Until we get to the UFL in the spring, but you know, football's over. And listen, it was a great season as always. I'm hoping for less injuries next year. I mean, that's one of the things I would have to say. But, that's part of the game. But, I mean, it's at the end of the day, we ended up with the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. You had all these teams like the Dolphins, the Eagles getting off to a 10-1 start, the Ravens finishing with the number 1 seed, the Bills on that, going from 6-6 and nobody, losing to the Eagles in overtime and people thinking, yeah, they're not making the playoffs to, making a run. You thought with how the conference was that maybe the Cowboys would get back to the conference championship. But and the Chiefs, it just looked like, yeah, I guess maybe this just isn't their year. But they, like I said, they flipped that switch, and they looked like a different team in the playoffs. They looked like, the Chiefs that we're accustomed to seeing. I mean, not like not the juggernaut Chiefs, but they, when they had to, they showed up. And listen, they're the new dynasty. They're the new villain. They're the new villain too, because this is what happened with the Patriots. I mean, again, when they first started winning Super Bowls, I was very young. I was, a baby. I was, and then when they won in 2003 and 2004, I mean, again, I wasn't watching. My earliest memory, I would say, is the Giants Super Bowl. The first one, because I remember when the Patriots took the lead, 14-10. I remember I was like crying. Like, I just remember that because I thought the Giants were going to lose. That's my earliest memory of football, I would say, is that. But after that, I mean, it's then the Patriots, then they went on their run, during my prime years of watching football. I mean, still in my prime years, but I'm just saying. That's what the Chiefs are doing right now. And they're the villain. You got to beat them. And for some teams, they just cannot do it. There have been very few that have been able to do it. 2 guys, Tom Brady and Joe Burrow. Those are the only guys to beat Mahomes in the playoffs. So who's going to be the next person to do it? Is it going to be Joe? Well, it's not Brady unless Brady decides, you know what, I'm coming out of retirement to take him down. No, but it's Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's the lone guy. So who's it going to be? Is it Lamar Jackson? I mean, it didn't happen this year. Is it Josh Allen? He can't seem to get it done. Now you got Jim Harbaugh in L.A. with the Chargers. Is it going to be them? The Browns, with Deshaun Watson coming back and a healthy team. Is it going to be them? I'm just saying. I don't know. I don't know. What about the Dolphins? What if the Chiefs had to go play them in Miami? I don't know. I mean, I in my head, I'm kind of answering my own question, but, listen, it didn't happen this year. Again, with the Chiefs team that, you would say was not the best during the regular season. Again, I relate them. My comparison to them is that 2018 Patriots team. Again, team that won this year, that year, they weren't in the regular season, they weren't the best. But then they got to the playoffs and they were a different team. They played the Chargers in the divisional round. Everybody's like, oh, the Chargers with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Melvin Gordon, Phillip Rivers playing well. That defense with Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram. I mean, that Derwin James, that team's going to beat the Patriots. The Patriots are done. Patriots destroyed them. Then they play the Chiefs in Arrowhead. Chiefs are the 1 seed. Patriots beat them in overtime to go to the Super Bowl. And they beat the Rams in a low-scoring defensive battle. It was kind of like the Chiefs here. I mean, the regular season, it just receivers dropping passes and the offense just wasn't playing well. I mean, it didn't matter because you got to the playoffs. They win their first game in Arrowhead against the Dolphins. They beat the Bills on the road. Again, Patrick Mahomes has never played a road playoff game. Beats Josh Allen on the road and then goes and plays the Ravens, the number 1 seed, in the AFC Championship game, and they win that. and then they go to the Super Bowl, and they get off to a slow start last night, but they put it together, and they get the win in overtime. The second Super Bowl to ever go to overtime. And, I mean, like I said, we are witnessing greatness right now, whether you like it or not. So you got to appreciate it. You got to appreciate it because, again, like we said, with the Patriots, who knows if this will ever happen again, but right now the Chiefs have kind of taken over, and they're becoming that next team. Now, again, they still got ways to go if they want to catch, the Patriots, if Mahomes wants to catch Brady in terms of championships. But listen, the Patriots went 10 years without winning a Super Bowl. Now, again, I don't know if that's going to happen with Mahomes. Right now, it doesn't look like it. But, listen, the Patriots went a long time without winning a Super Bowl, like I just said. So, and then they won 3 more. And then Brady went off and won another one. So, I mean, maybe Mahomes follows the same path. We go 10 years. They go 10 years without winning one. Then they win 3 more. And then Mahomes goes to a different team and wins another one. I don't know. We'll see. But, the NFL season is now over. So we're going to be talking about draft stuff and free agency and all that. Trade talks and trade rumors, guys wanting out of teams and, whatever. That's all coming up. So, listen, the season might be over, but there will be stuff to talk about in the offseason. So, but I know maybe some people were getting tired of us talking about the Super Bowl across the GSMC Sports Network for the last couple of weeks, just because, again, that was the main topic, was the Super Bowl. But, and we'll still continue to talk about it a little bit throughout the week. But obviously, we'll sprinkle in a lot of off-season stuff because that's where we are now. So, but yeah, with that is all the time that we have for today. I thank you guys for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow. Same time, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And until then, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.